Hi there, Cruze owners. Today in your 2017 Chevrolet Cruze, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install CURT's Class 1 trailer hitch receiver. For the most part, the cross tube is not too visible. It does hang down below, so you can see it, but it's tucked in so far underneath. Unless you were to really get down on your knees or lay on your belly, you're not really going to notice it. At the back here, we've got our receiver end. It's a 1 1/4 by 1 1/4. This is a Class 1. So this is going to be great for your accessories, such as bike racks and cargo carriers. It uses a 1/2-inch hitch pin and clip. This doesn't come included with the hitch, but we've got plenty available here at etrailer.com. On bottom, we have plate-style safety chain loops with a moderate size opening that should work with just about every shape, size, and style of safety chain. This hitch offers a 200-pound tongue weight, which is the force going down on top of the receiver. And that should be enough for a 2-bike platform rack loaded up with a couple of bikes on it. I wouldn't really go for a 4-bike rack with this. And if you were to get a cargo carrier, you do want to keep in mind that the 200-pound tongue weight is the weight of the carrier plus whatever you have on it. So you want to look at a smaller one for this particular hitch. It also features a 2,000-pound gross towing capacity. And that should be enough for a small utility trailer if you need to get a little bit of work done, maybe move around a lawnmower from one location to another, do a little moving. You could do that with this hitch. Now I've got some measurements for you to help you when deciding on your accessories. From the center of our hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, it's about 5 inches. And this is important when determining if any of your folding accessories can be placed in the upright storage position without contacting the bumper. And from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube, it's at about 12 inches. And this is important when determining if you need a drop, a rise, or a raise shank on any of your accessories. And since this one is so low, I would recommend a raise shank on your accessories. Now that we've gone over some of the features of our hitch, why don't you follow along with me in the shop? We'll begin our installation underneath the vehicle. We're going to lower down our exhaust. Before you lower it down, you want to make sure you put a strap in place to hold it up. So we're just going to take something like this here. We can just hook it on over and then just pull it up. And then this way we can, after we get our exhaust loose, we can use our strap to gently lower it down. To lower down our exhaust, we're going to remove the 2 nuts that are located on the studs here, and we're going to use a 13mm socket. Once you get both bolts out, it's going to drop down. Then we can go over to our strap and we can let it down a little bit more. Now over on the passenger side, we're going to remove the undershield here. There are a couple of nuts here towards the center that we're going to use a 10mm socket to remove. And then around the outside, you're going to have a few more that we're going to remove, this time using a 7mm socket. And then on the other side of our panel, next to the passenger side rear tire, there's another one right here we'll need to remove with our 7mm socket. And then if we go up higher, there's another large plastic nut here we're going to use our 10mm socket to remove. Now that we've got all of our hardware loose, we can take this panel down. We're going to set it aside. We are going to be reinstalling it, but we have to modify it for it to fit properly. We'll now need to get our exhaust heat shield out of the way. The nuts that are on here is usually easiest to take off with a pair of needle nose because you can kind of fit it into those little grooves there and then just spin your needle nose. Once you get it loose, you can just take the rest of it off by hand. There are a total of 3. There's 2 more here towards the center above our muffler there. Once those 3 nuts are removed, your panel is loose. There are a couple of clips that just hook it to the fender liner here. So just grab the fender liner and then grab the heat shield and just pull the 2 apart. They just slide right out of there. And we'll just work it off here. This is another component that we will be reinstalling, but we have to modify it as well for it to fit properly. Now that we've got all that stuff out of the way, we can go ahead and feed our hardware in. This is going to be our hole here that we're going to go in. I've taken the carriage bolt and I threaded it onto the coiled end of our fish wire that comes in our kit. You want to put one of your spacers on there as well. You can just slide this over the other end. Then you're going to poke the bolt up into the frame, push the spacer up into the frame, and then you can pull it back down like that. We're going to do the same thing on this hole here, and then in the two same locations here on the opposite side. At this point we need to trim our heat shield so we can put it back up before the hitch goes on. We're going to be keeping this section here and discarding the rest over here on this side. It's going to be in the way and interfere with our hitch. So we're just going to cut along the line that I've marked out here, and you can find that in the directions that come included with your hitch. Now that we've got it trimmed out, we're just going to put it back into place, sliding it over the stud there, and then reinstalling our nut. Now with the next set of hands, we're going to lift our hitch into position. You'll want to take your fish wires and drop them down through the holes in your hitch. Once you got those dropped in, you want to get the driver's side up first over the exhaust. And then we can lift it straight up to where our bolts pass through. And you can just yank your coiled wire there. That'll come right off. You do want to be careful not to push the bolts back up into the frame. And then we're just going to gently thread on our bolts right onto the carriage bolts. And once you get one on each side, the hitch will hold itself up, making it easier to install the rest of your hardware. Once all the hardware has been installed on there, we can go ahead and tighten it down with an 11/16 socket. We can then go back and torque our hardware to the specifications found in our instructions. We can now trim out our undershield here. I'm just going to use my Snips once again to cut this out. And then we can just go ahead and reinstall this panel. It is a little tricky to get everything to quite line up, because the hitch being in the way, it does make it just a little bit trickier. And then we'll just reinstall our hardware. We can now reinstall our exhaust. You just want to lift it up, line the studs up with the holes in the hanger, and then you can just reinstall the hardware. We can then take our strap back down, and we're now ready to load up our favorite accessories and hit the road. And that completes our installation of CURT's Class 1 trailer hitch receiver on our 2017 Chevrolet Cruze.